I want to have a look at how we can create a Lego brick using the patterning tool in Onshape. We're also going to add some text. We're going to do some shelling to make sure that the object is hollow. And we're going to do a boolean to actually join all the pieces together. We're going to create a rib to go in the middle of it. And we're also going to see if we can actually do a section view of our object as well. Okay, so to start off with, I've imported in the graphic here just to give me some dimensions to work with. So we're going to base this on a 4x2 Lego brick. It has a width of 31.8 millimeters and a depth of 15.8 and a height of 9.6 millimeters. Okay, this will be available for you to actually refer to. Notice here this is actually a thickness of 1.2, whereas the top part here has a thickness of 1 millimeter. So we're going to have to just change around how the shelling actually works for this. Okay, so it's going to be done in two parts. So to start off with, I'm going to create a new part studio to work with, like so. We're going to draw on the top work plane, so swing to that. I'm going to put a sketch on that top work plane. I'm going to start off with a center point rectangle, starting from the center here, and drag out the basic size here, which we said was going to be 31.8 by 15.8. Okay, it'll give us our shape. We'll zoom in so we can see the shape. Okay, we're going to extrude this to give it a depth of 9.6 millimeters. Okay, so 9.6. So it's not quite 10, 9.6 millimeters. Okay, right. Take that, and so we should have our basic block like so. Okay, we're going to start by drawing on the top work plane here. Okay, put a new sketch onto that, and again we're going to swing to the top view, so we're looking straight at that top view. Okay, I'm going to take my center point circle, and draw a basic circle coming out here, and this has a diameter of 4.8 millimeters. Okay, we're going to use our dimension tool as well just to set the distance from the edge of it. So from the center to the edge, we know is 3.9. Okay, there. Okay, so 3.9. There. And we'll do from the center to this edge here as well, and we'll set that to be 3.9 as well. 3.9. Okay, so that gives us our two sizes there. Okay, now before I extrude this, what we need to do is to extrude this as a new object, not as an addition, because this is going to be treated in a different way to the rest of the block. So when I extrude this, I'm going to take that and we're going to do this as a new shape here, and that's going to have a height of, let's see, 1.8 millimeters. 1.8, okay, so there. There we have our basic shape there. On the surface of this, I'm going to click on that and put a new sketch. And this is where we're going to be putting our text onto this. So I'm going to grab I'm going to use my point tool first for this. So I'm just going to swing to the top view and zoom in so we can plan this out. So I'm going to use my point tool first, just to plot a point in the center of the circle. It'll become apparent why we've done that in a second. We're then going to take our text tool. I'm going to draw out our basic sort of shape for our text. And I'm going to use the text Lego and change the font on this to Arimo, which is a pretty close match, and bold and italic on this. We are limited on the number of fonts we actually have available in Onshape, but this seems to be a basic one that will work. So green tick that. Now what we don't know is the height of the text here. So I'm going to use my dimension tool and just grab the edge line here of the text and set this to a height of 1 millimeters. Okay. And I'm also going to grab my point tool again, and I'm going to put a point in the middle of this text here. So I'm going to zoom right in and just make sure I'm actually getting in the middle of this text there. Okay, there. Okay, and then I'm going to use my concentric tool to grab the center of this and the center of that, the circle there. And I should move. Maybe I didn't grab that. Hang on, just a minute. Let me just take that center isn't right there. Let me just undo that. I don't think I've actually put that in the right place. So let's take that point there, delete that point. Yeah, okay, hang on. What I need to do is to move and get this text to be slightly further over. Hang on. Click. What we want is the actual center of this text here, not the edge of the circles, which is the problem that I grabbed there. So let's just make sure we want to grab. Yeah, so we want the center of that, not the edge of the circle, which is what I grabbed there. Okay, so then I should be able to take my concentric tool, grab that point and this point, and that should then move. Yes, there we have it there. Okay, so you've got to be careful that when you're picking that you're picking the center of the text and not the edge of the circle, otherwise you will get a conflict occurring there. Okay, good. Right, so with that there, I'm going to then extrude this to a height of, let's see, what do I have to do that as? We'll do that as a height of 0.2 millimeters. Okay, so 0.2, okay, 2 millimeters. And that's going to be additional to this surface here, not this surface, just this grey surface here. And that should give me my Lego text in the center of that circle there. Brilliant. Okay, right, so the next thing is about patterning. So we know that the logo or the Lego block has 4 by 2 rows of dots. So I'm going to use this pattern tool here, linear pattern. Okay, and I'm going to be patterning a part, and the part I'm going to pattern is the new part 2, which is the Lego logo cylinder there. So grab that, and the direction that I'm going in, I'm going to follow the line or the edge of the blue block there. Okay, and we're going to do that for an instance of 4, okay, and a distance of 8 millimeters. Now you may find that when this first goes through that you get an effect where it goes that way, so it goes the wrong direction. So just click on the arrow here to change it to the other direction, and there we have that. Now whilst that's still open, I'm also going to do a second direction on this, so second direction. And for this direction, I'm going to pick the edge of the block going this way. Okay, and the distance again is going to be 8 millimeters, and the number of instances is going to be 2. Okay, now just click onto it. It should appear. Now we can see already that it's going the opposite direction, so we need to click on the arrow to change it so that it redraws itself on the block. There we have that. We can green tick that. We're happy with that. Okay, so now we have 8 instances of our Lego cylinder that are all separate from the main block. And you can see them all coming out as separate parts here, but don't worry about that. Right, now what we need to do now is to shell out the bottom part of this. I'm going to click on that surface there and click on my shell tool. And the distance for that, according to the plan, is 1.2. So 1.2 millimeters, and that will just do that inside part there for us. Okay, right, now we can now join all these parts together to make them into one part. So I'm going to grab my Boolean tool. Now we've used the subtraction part, but the union part is quite handy as well, because that will enable us to actually join all of these parts to make one part. So for that, I'm just going to drag a box over the whole of this drawing like so. And that will select all of those parts in one go, and it will join them all together. And you can see that the colour has now become blue for everything. So we have one part there created. There we are. Okay. Now, the reason why the shelling, I didn't want to do the shelling normally with this part here, was because it doesn't like the letters, and it starts to complain about the fact the letters are, and it can't shell out those as well. So this is a way to get around that. Plus the fact that the insert that's going to go inside of these circles here is going to be a little bit less. Okay, so next part, we're going to do the rib that's going to come through the center of this here. It's going to be a rib. Now that doesn't occur right to the edge here, so it's going to be a slight distance from it. So what we're going to do is to grab this inside surface here, yeah, and we're going to create a plane that's going to be offset from that surface. And the offset of this is going to be at 6.3 millimeters. Okay, so this is going from the inside face of the inside of the block, and it's going to be 6.3 millimeters from that point. So if you look, we've got a new plane, and that has a distance from the inside of here down to here of 6.3 millimeters. Okay, and we're going to draw on that surface to create the edge of our rib. So first of all, I'm going to take a sketch, and grab the new plane, which is this one here, plane 1. Okay, make sure you've got the right plane here. Might need to zoom in. Just grab this plane. So that one there. No, it's grabbing the wrong one. If it doesn't do that, then click on it on the tree. There we are. So now it's saying plane 1. Okay, and I'm going to grab this use tool here because I want to make sure that I use the edge of this line here. Can you see when I hover over there, I'm getting a blue line, so it knows that that's where it's going to be starting from there. Okay, grab my line drawing tool, and now I can move along here and try and find the center. There we have it there, and I can draw a line going across that's going to be perpendicular to it until it reaches the edge. Okay, so anywhere along there will do for us. Okay, so I'm looking for it to go to there, I think. That's going to be right. Okay, and then escape. And that should give me a line going across. Maybe a little bit longer. I'm going to redo that because I'm not happy about that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to grab my other use tool and pick up this line on the inside here as well. So we're going to grab that line there. There we have 2 lines selected now. Now I'm going to grab my line drawing tool, go along from there, and then there. Now I know that I'm actually on the right line there. That's the right extent. Okay, escape. Now I can close this sketch and then grab my rib tool, and I want to grab the new line that I've just drawn going across the center there. Okay, and this is going to have a thickness of 8 or 0.8 millimeters, so 0.8 millimeters. Okay, and the part that it's going to be based on is obviously the block that we've worked on there. Now you'll see here it says, does it want to be parallel to the sketch plane or does it want to be normal? You want it to be normal to it, okay? And there it's drawn out my rib. You may find that you may have to change the direction arrow, in which case it goes that way. Click on that and that brings it back down to the right place then. So it's going from this line, creating a 0.8 millimeter thick rib going down to hit the bottom part here, okay? So we're happy with that. Okay, last bit we need to think about. If we swing our view round, I'm going to turn off all the work planes at the moment as well, so we're not distracted by those. Okay, so there's one last one here. Okay, so the view that we've got of this is showing our Lego brick there. I want to just show you the thing called the section view. So on here I'm going to go down to section view. And you can click on a face like so. And if you take this arrow here, you can drag this back to show a cross section through the Lego brick. Now we can see that we've got a hollow space here and here, but there's nothing happening in the center of these circles here, and they should actually have a hole going in them. So we're going to see if we can actually correct that for us. So I'm going to switch off my section view. Okay. To do that, we're going to have to work on the underside here. So I'm going to click on that surface there, okay? And I'm going to put a new sketch on that, okay? Now, we could start drawing the circle straight onto this for the indent, but we don't know where that is in relation to these top circles here. So we're going to use our use tool here first, and I'm going to click on the edge of one of my circles here. So just the edge there, and you can see the blue line below it. And what that's done is projected that line on the inside of this for me. So now, if I have a look at the underside, I've got a line projected through there, okay? Now I can take my center point circle, and actually what I could do as well, I could convert this to a construction line. Can I do that? Yes, I could do that as a construction line. Yes, I can do that as a construction line. That will help. Okay. Now, to take that off, take your ordinary circle. Grab this and we're going to drag out a new circle, and this is going to have a width of 2.6 millimeters. Okay, 2.6. Okay, 2.6. There we have that there. Okay, now we can take our extrusion tool. Now I want to be careful because we only want to extrude just that middle circle there, so you may have to just deselect various parts that you don't want for this. Okay, now it's trying to do the block, so I'm going to take that off there and just make sure I'm only picking that circle there. There we are. Okay, and we want it to be removed. Okay, removed, and we want this to go to a depth of 1.7 mil. Okay, 1.7 mil. Okay, there. Now what that will do is give me a dent inside this top part here. Okay, but the wall thickness of that will be less than the thickness of this. So that's exactly what we want for our difference on our shelling. Okay, and we can then start to pattern this out. So I'm going to take the pattern tool here. Okay, and the part that I want to pattern is I'm going to change this to a feature. And the feature I want to pattern is the extrusion 4, which is the last part that we just did. So I'm going to click on that. That's the pattern that I want to do. The direction of it, I'm going to follow this edge here. So there, okay. And we want this to have a distance of 8 millimeters. So that follows the same centers that we had previously. And the number of instances is 4. And you can see here that it started to do it outside the shape here. So we want to go opposite direction. And there we have our 4 dents there for us. I'm going to also do a second direction on this and pick up the inside edge here as well. And again, we want this to be 8 millimeters and a number of instances of 2 this time. Okay, and we may have to change the direction. No, that says picked up the correct direction there. Brilliant. Okay, so that's now repeated that pattern there. Let's green tick that. And there we have our shape drawn out. Now, I'm going to swing this to a view like so. I'm going to grab my section view tool. Okay. It's got the old section view there that we had before. So I can turn this around. And you can see now that when I do my section view, I've now got the indent going into the center of each of these top parts. And the distance that I've got here is less than the distance here because we already have that section set up there, so it looks correct. And we have now a proper Lego brick created with section view that can be generated from that. Okay, the section view is really good as well if you want to show in a drawing for your project that you've actually got a cross, understand the cross section of your particular object that you're working with. Okay, and there we have a nice Lego brick. We can take the section view off as well, so turn that off. And we could also go around and start adding some fillets to the edge of this as well to round off some of these edges. Probably about 1 millimeter may be enough. Maybe actually 0.5. Do this 0.5 instead. 0.5 mil. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, you can just go around and put that around if you wanted to. Okay, depending on what type of Lego brick you've actually got. Okay, cool. Looking forward to seeing your results.